Hey guys, Dr. Ward here. I wanted to talk to you all briefly. I noticed in some of your reflection posts for our reflection number 2, as well as some of the discussion board posts, that um, we are getting really close to a wonderful understanding of what it means to have a comprehensive school counseling program in place at your schools. But I wanted to give you some insight and ideas about why we as a profession have changed to this new focus on being more comprehensive in scope, and also some ideas about how to kind of structure your mindset so that we can have a better focus on preventing some student issues that we see commonly in our public schools. So first of all, I wanted to let you guys know, back in the early 2000s, there was kind of an education trust initiative that came out of a MetLife program. And this program said, you know what, there are key stakeholders in our schools who are not being tasked effectively. And one of those key stakeholders identified was the school counselor, because traditionally the school counselor, or back then guidance counselor, would sit behind his or her desk, sit behind his or her computer if they happened to have one at that time, and they would see students, mostly problem students, as they came into their office. Sometimes they'd see students who were on a path for success, but frequently, and you guys noted this in your initial discussion postings, frequently the times that the school counselor saw the students was when they were coming in to get recommendations for colleges or to review their transcripts. So really there was no connection between who the counselor was and the student body. Now, again, Ed Trust came out and said there is an untapped resource in the school, and we need to utilize the people in this profession to comprehensively address the changing needs of our public school students. There are kids out there who are now afflicted by violence and drugs and other risk-taking behaviors at such early ages. We were having a really tough time in the early 2000s keeping kids in school and producing kids who are ready for post-secondary education. So how did we do it? Well, we did it in a preventive manner, and we changed our focus from seeing the top 10% or bottom 10% of our students to focusing our programs on meeting the needs of the other 90% of the students, the ones who'd been neglected but who had the potential to succeed and to thrive in our post-secondary world and as lifelong learners and responsible citizens. So there's a little bit of the history. Now, one of the things I love to talk to my face-to-face students about, and I'd love for you guys to get the benefit of this as well, is the Starfish Story. Many of you who are educators know this story. You've heard it a number of times. It's oftentimes used as kind of a triumphant welcome to back to school, and here's the difference you can make. So for those of you who know it, bear with me. For those of you who don't know it, hopefully you'll find some truth in its words. So the Starfish Story goes like this. There's a little boy and an old man, and they're walking down, let's rewind that. There's a little boy walking down the beach, and he sees an old man standing on the beach, and he's reaching down and he's picking up starfish from the shore, and he's throwing the starfish back in the water. And he's doing this one at a time. And the little boy is watching this old man pick up these starfish and throw them back in the water one at a time. And the little boy approaches the old man and says, "Old man, why are you doing this?" And the old man says, "Well, the starfish are coming up on the beach, and if they're left here, they're surely going to die." And the old man says, "So I throw them back in the water so that they can go back into safety and live out their lives in the ocean." The little boy says, "But there's millions of starfish on this beach alone, and there's millions of beaches all over the world. You can't possibly save them all. You can't make a difference." And the old man picks up a starfish, holds it, looks at the little boy, and says, "I just made a difference to this one." And he throws that starfish back in the water. Great story, right, y'all? I mean, wow, what an impact we can have on just one student. But here's the thing. We Transform School counselors need to think bigger than that, because that little boy was right. There are millions of starfish on those beaches, and they do face certain death if left to the beaches and to the effects of the climate. So, how do we think as Transform School counselors? Well, we think, you know what? There's a better way to do this. We could go around and we could individually throw each starfish back in the water, but we're going to be exhausted. So what do we do instead? We go out there and we build a net. We go out there and we gather all our stakeholders together. We gather teachers, we gather community members, we network with outside agencies, and we figure out ways to put preventive nets in place so that those starfish cannot come up to the beach in the first place. That is how a Transform School counselor should operate in their schools. Be creative, think outside the box, and find new, interesting, innovative ways to impact students and to impact the bottom line of the school, which is, of course, to produce lifelong learners and to graduate a 21st century student body. So, as you're thinking about this going forward, we're about to get into individual student planning this week, so you will be talking a little bit more about throwing those starfish individually back. But I would also like for you to think about some interesting and innovative ways that you might approach individual student planning and also incorporate it back into your overall responsive services, your system support, and your guidance curriculum. Looking forward to seeing your responses this week, guys. Take care.